Volvo 60 series range is undergoing a bit of a midlife makeover. Rather than a crisis, there was nothing to have a crisis about in the first place. In fact, the 60 series range is the one that had really put Volvo back on the map in this country, followed by the very successful V series. And what we have today is the V60 station wagon, or estate car as they call it. Personally, my favorite in the 60 series range.
We tested the new V60 at its local launch in 2011. Back then we drove the range-topping T6 all-wheel drive version, so this time around we've opted for the diesel derivative, a more practical choice that's in keeping with the V60's character.
I'm actually a bit of a Volvo fan myself. In fact, I've owned 5 or 6 of them, I've lost count. And most of them dating from the 50s and the early 60s, when Volvos here were considered very sporty motor cars, ideal for rallies and that sort of thing. It was only in more recent years that they had this rather staid image. That really changed about 2.5 to 3 years ago when they brought in the 60 range, particularly the S60 and the V60 sedan and wagon ranges. For me, that put the panache, the bit of the sport, back into Volvo. Now they've actually refreshed the entire range of 60 series cars. What they've done is they've given it like different grills, different bumpers, different side accents, and in fact quite a lot of extensive work's been done to the bonnet and the headlights as well. And so they've given it this different face. I'm not sure whether I like it that much. I love the old bit of egg crate look that they had before. But anyway, this is more modern and presumably it'll appeal to a wider range of people. Of course, it's in the interior that a lot of work has been done, and essentially what they've done is they've taken all the gizmos, the electronic advances in terms of ambient lighting switches and stuff like that. You can have different hues inside the car, as well as taken a lot of the electronic advances that they introduced in the previous smaller V40 range, and they've added it to the V60 and S60 range now.
As is to be expected from a Volvo, the V60 is literally brimming with advanced safety features. The entire program isn't long enough to list them all, and most of the systems like driver alert, blind spot monitor, city safety and adaptive cruise control you've heard of before. What is new is active high beam control, which uses a projector module to shade out parts of the beam without dimming. The company has also improved its pedestrian detection system so that it can now also spot cyclists and apply full braking pressure in case a bike suddenly swerves out in front of the car.
There's also a very wide engine range available in this car, and essentially what we're driving in at the moment is called the D4, which is a 2-litre diesel. It's a 5-cylinder diesel, and it's kind of tweaked to produce 120 kilowatts. You do get a more powerful 150 or so kilowatt version, and that's known as the D5. I must say I like Volvo's continuation with the 5-cylinder engine range. They have it in the petrol as well. For me, that's one of my favorite engines, even though it is a bit gas guzzly. In the diesel, it's nice and economical, but it still gives it that offbeat 5-cylinder sound, which I much prefer to a 4-cylinder diesel, which I find a bit mundane and clattery. So yeah, nice choice here. Suspension-wise, it's fairly stiff as well. I think it could be slightly more compliant, but yes, more than up to our urban situation in South Africa, where you have lots of potholes and some of the bad roads, and generally the ride is very good. Now, the Volvo interior is something you'd either like or you don't like at all. A lot of people find it bland and boring. I find it elegant and Swedish orientated. I love the fact that it's not littered with knobs and bells and whistles and all sorts of fancy little gizmos. Every single control, easy to use, very sparse approach to interior design, and I must say it sits well with me. As far as brightening up the interior goes, they've added a silk sort of finish to the metalwork surrounding some of the panels, and it's quite nice. I think it's a nice texture. It doesn't look cheap at all. They've also added some tough leather. This stuff looks so durable, I think it'll probably last through until the next ice age.
The Volvo station wagon may no longer resemble a box on wheels, but rear seat room is still generous, as is the luggage space. Antique dealers be warned though, you won't be squeezing a chest of drawers in the back anytime soon.
One of the things, I'm not alone in this opinion in Ignition, and that is, why isn't South Africa station wagon orientated? They seem to go for SUVs and hatchbacks, but not station wagons. To me, station wagons make the most sense. much better road holding than you'd have in an SUV. This is one sleek, chic, urban cruiser vehicle, and I must say, I'm really in love with it. There used to be a saying in the British motoring media called Volvo Man, and that depicted this grey-suited, slip-on loafered, really boring midlife crisis kind of guy. There's nothing midlife crisis about this car. It's in a midlife facelift mode, and all the better for it. And I must say, it still has all the solid values that Volvo Man would have appreciated. What it's added is a little bit of panache and a fair degree of driver satisfaction, not to mention the great styling of this rear tailgate, which reminds me of our favorite Volvo of all time, the P1800. So yes, nice one, Volvo.